Hey y'all, it's Sharon and I'm back to share another idea on how to reform the police. If you're new to the channel, I'm a retired detective. I worked for 20 years for a southeastern city and I was also in the military. I'm sharing my experiences along with my perspectives and opinions on how to better the police. And I'm sharing from the perspective of the individual officer, the career officer, the person thinking about getting into policing. And I try to bring it to you outside of the box, the perspective anyway. And so I'm sharing again my book, my Middle Eastern conflict, looking back at my future. And this book helped me in my identity, learning who I was, what I was. And it took a long time. It took years to actually write this book. And that's why I wrote it. Maybe somebody else might be in the same position, not knowing who they are or not really identifying with who they are on a physical level or a spiritual level. And for me, being brown, I was taught that my identity started at slavery. And as a child, I always wondered, there's got to be more than this. Those Johnny Westmiller flicks, Tarzan, showed my people acting a certain way. And I was like, can't be, no way. And I also thought there had to be more. And I was searching and looking, and I became a police officer. I went to the military. I was in the Army, looking for identity. And realizing now, those things are not who I am. Who I was based on in a spiritual level because I believed in something higher than myself. I believed in a creator. And so I had something to do with the creator creating me. And looking for identity, yes, part of it was going into the military. Part of it was going into policing. Part of it was ABD, as people say, all but dissertation, doctoral candidate. I'm going to finish it. But looking for identity, looking for a place. And I don't know how to explain. I'm going to try to explain it. Not knowing where you come from, it's almost like a burden because you want to know. Some people don't want to know, and that's fine. But I wanted to know. I know my parents. I know some about my grandparents. I've never met my great-grandparents, and I don't know anything beyond that, so to speak. And listening to kids in school and how they can go back to a particular town in another country. I couldn't do that. And so like I said, I wanted to know. So it's a long search, researching and asking family members questions and things like that. But in this book, it helped me find my identity. It also helped me make decisions. And I call them landmarks in the book, things, pivotal points in my life. And I talk about it here, career-wise anyway, in the book. I talk about that career-wise and how landmarks that were established in my career as I looked back helped inform the future me, which was 10 years ago when I started writing. Well, it's probably 15 years ago when I started writing this book. It helped inform the future me, so to speak. So when I look back and I look back at the landmarks in this book, there were times when I didn't ask the future me and I just made the decisions and that got me certain results. And then when I sat back, I guess with age and experience, my perspective started to change. And then when I tried to make decisions, I would ask the future me. This present moment, I think 20, 30 years into the future, and I asked the future me, what would you do in this situation? And so the future me answers, and that's the decision I made. Because when I get to that point, when I look back, I'm not going to have too many regrets. That's what I'm thinking. So far, so good. But the future me, I had to know who the future me was. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. If I don't know who I am, how can I ask the future me to help me make a decision now? So yes, I touch on that in this book. Middle Eastern conflict is a place, it's an idea, it's a man-made idea but it helped me discover who I was, and I was able to ask the future me certain questions to make decisions now in policing, in my personal life, and hopefully it helps folks do that when they read the book. Of course, people haven't read the book and they have things to say. I'm not even going to address that anymore. If you haven't opened the book, we don't have nothing to talk about. I'm not going to debate with you. Not really, no. But if you open the book and you read it and you have questions or comments, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But yeah, this I think will help folks who trying to figure out who they are and how to get there. This book really helps. And so I just want to share that. But I also want to say this. In policing, when I got into policing, I thought the gun and badge made me who I was. Of course, I've come to realize, no, that's not who I was. The gun and badge just magnified who I was. And so there were things and times when I would talk harshly to people. I'm not trying to listen to the story. No, grandma going to jail too, like I used to say. Everybody going to jail. And in discovering who I was, I started to peel off this idea of us versus them. I didn't even know who I was. So how is there us versus them? But I thought being a police officer was who I was. No, it just enhanced it. The gun and badge, the power behind it, enhanced who I was. And then I had to make some changes, landmarks. And that little bit, I think, will help people understand where I'm coming from when I talk about this book and why I wrote the book. And so now I'm finished. But as is our tradition, check out the online store. The link is in the description. I will leave a link for this book in the description. It's only $15. It's on Amazon and Lulu at the moment. And there are other books with the links that take you directly to the books on Amazon. But this one, I'm going to leave the link for both Lulu and Amazon. And as is our tradition, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.